Hi, my name is Bennett. Writing class, communication class. Hello, professors. This is a little unusual, but it's kind of like a final project, but it's kind of like my explanation for everything. Sometimes you do it in APA, meaning you see how it's formatted, like you do the name, date, professor, title, and then you want to double space it at the end. You really don't need to worry too much about how to do citations, because if you struggle with that, you can use Google and say something like how to make a citation in APA and just put in some basic data. But you need to do in-text citations too, and we can do that. But I'll get back to that because this is my final project. I'm starting at a big thing and going back, but I'd also like to address as best I can things like gender justice. Men and women should be equal, but we should accommodate the advantages and disadvantages, because being a man is a disability because you're not really good at the woman stuff, and vice versa. But let's focus on the final project. And what does that mean, professors, everybody who's watching this? Well, the things that have been stressing me out are very clearly explained in kind of a side project I'm doing, which is very extensive, detailed, complicated, and hard to understand. But as I keep going on and on, making videos all the time on my very public facebook.com/Bennett page, my Instagram, and all that sort of thing. So I'm like, well, why should this be a side project if it's entirely what we're supposed to be talking about here for the final project? If I just kind of tie everything I've been doing, because even the silly stuff like listening to a book, playing a video game at the same time, that's not school related exactly, except it was really good training to get comfortable doing this sort of thing. Would my final project be this, what it is right now, if I didn't have all this practice and introduce things like, so what is the focus of the serious part leading up to the culmination, the climax, or the beginning of something new this morning? Well, I did a video where I just claim, matter of fact, that I'm facing systemic violence, a conspiracy and cover-up. And that's hard to prove, right? Well, I know for a fact it happened because I know who attacks me, especially when I know, based on my legal training, that the attacks are unprovoked and unjustified, and that everyone is strangely united to talk about my problems, even though I never did anything wrong that they can specifically name, apart from acting weird and running away when people terrorize me. I'm going through some drama right now at TCC, and you saw my behavior, like he's freaked out. These guys are chasing him. Well, that makes sense in the context of what I'm talking about, because if you go to support groups, and those support groups are run by very sketchy, nasty people who are kind of fakers and don't really understand what the support groups are all about. You know it better than them. Well, it's very annoying when you're allowed to speak or when people start to listen to you. It's better to terrorize them, make them the problem, and get rid of them. Kind of like what's happening with the higher-ups who take away the snacks at TCC, send, scary, badly trained law enforcement that's not law enforcement to like follow you around, stare at you creepy style, not listen to reason, not calm down when you beg them to be quiet, because it's like, oh, you raised your voice when you told them to stop terrorizing you. Well, that's a pattern, so it's important to remain calm and open-minded as we address this. Well, I have 100% battery on my phone, so let's begin with where I most clearly lay out what the problem is here, and that's like the last 3 minutes or so of a 12-minute video that's easily accessible. And I would like to include all my social media as kind of like exhibits in what I'm presenting now. So like, yes, this video is the thing, but it's kind of referring like, please see addendum, my Facebook feed. And then you see a bunch of silly music videos. Well, I'll guide you to the ones that are most relevant, starting now. Here is how I lay out so you understand kind of what's happening. It's a conspiracy theory, but based on what I see and can prove, I can prove the conspiracy and cover-up happens because I have proof of multiple attacks and people acting very nasty and violent when I pointed out to them, and then they vote me out because I'm disrupting their meeting. Speaking of which, even if you make someone nervous by talking about, say, a dark topic that's in the newspapers, well, I'm a free speech advocate, so you have to be careful not to upset people, right? But on the other hand, if you're in an institute of higher learning, and I have some experience both teaching and being a student in these sorts of situations, if someone talking about, for example, the Hiroshima bombing, that's historical, we need to talk about it, we need to learn about it. You might not want to talk about it on an airplane, but an airplane and a college, even if the college has stressed out people like an airplane, they're actually kind of opposites. Because in an airplane, you should be very careful what you talk about. And in an institution where we're supposed to learn, we still have to be very careful what we talk about, and we have to protect our freedom to talk about everything. It's paradoxical, a contradiction, and it's what I believe. So I keep stalling, right? So let's go to my Facebook and not get distracted. Focus long enough to get this out there. Here we go.
This one deals with a serious, complex topic, so let me show you, okay?
Okay. Violence and corruption, Meeker Fellowship and Puyallup. I do a lot of setup in the beginning, so I might lose a lot of my audience. It's like code switching. The beginning is kind of warming you up, letting you see the background, and I'm the common denominator. If you're a victim of systemic violence, you have violence wherever you go. They can say, oh, he's involved in all the violence, so he's the problem. But if I'm involved in all the violence, then I witness all the violence. And I know for a fact I never start it because people are making unprovoked attacks and blaming me for attacking me. Of course, they're going to blame me if they attack me, because if they blame themselves, technically they should be in jail, which is technically the absolute truth, I swear to you. But the thing about the law is it's hard to prove enough to put someone in jail because that's a very extreme measure to get justice. That's why suing exists. The civil system is a little bit more lenient because it's just as much of a burden for a citizen to get the ball rolling. In my case, it seems to be impossible. For example, talk to a lawyer. He says, oh, go talk to the prosecutor. You go talk to the prosecutor with a police report, and it's like, oh, we don't have a referral from the police. Well, if the police were paying attention when you reported it to them, you were reporting that you had evidence that you could prove a series of violent crimes, and you can also prove that people are acting very suspicious and kind of violent too, and nasty to a disabled person, technically. High-functioning disabled nonetheless. But let me skip to the end where I just kind of... Now, this is shocking because it's me being upset. PG-13 trigger warning. I might use a naughty word or two, but if someone's really upset because they're getting attacked, freedom of speech, bear with me despite the theatrical presentation, okay? I'm going to go near the end.
Well, I'm always the scapegoat, and when you get low enough in the world, everyone is like, no offense, but turning their backs on you publicly. So you don't make me very
Oh, that's not the video I want, because that's a shorter version where I don't even get to the end. So let's scroll down a little, get to the end where I get to the point, right? You know, because if you believe there's any truth in what I'm saying, which is absolutely true, knowing the main point might pique your curiosity to do what I'm asking you to do, which is include all my social media as part of this final project, which is basically how do you use social media, sometimes code switching, sometimes you're doing a funny music video that makes a point about how to use social media effectively, spreading laughter and joy. And sometimes you make a video where you're like, hey, this is a serious episode, like a final project, laying out some facts. And so code switching, it's like, this is how I'll say it in a way you'll understand. Or now I'll say it in a way that someone else might understand, like a video that's sweet for kids where you tell a story with a moral, an animal and a fable and the moral of the story. Story time, children. Or you could like make a here's the facts of my case. I'm a law school graduate. It's hard to mix that with my zany personality because people see, oh, like who am I? That's another here. Could I get credit for this? It's like, here's my bag, member of society, blah, 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 John Lennon. And this is presenting my actual self. So this is who I really am, right? And the irony there is if you'd listen to Oprah and her guests like Eckhart Tolle, self-help guru, take it with a grain of salt because it's like very profitable to him to write these books. But I believe Eckhart Tolle is sincere when he teaches that, the essence of who we are is paradoxically kind of close to nothingness, because if you eliminate everything that's not exactly who you are, including your past, what happened, what you chose before to be your likes and dislikes, you get rid of everything that's not tied to who you are, there's very little left except for that ineffable, impossible to describe spark of consciousness. And that's kind of the same in everybody. We're all kind of like looking through our eyes, that sensory input. We're creating the universe in our own minds. And we have lots of agreement if we're looking at the same things. We're all connected. And yet we're all doing it independently and together at the same time, paradoxically, contradictorily. And both can be correct depending on how you look at it. Let me do the main point of the final project. Like, what is this all about? Because I keep getting distracted. And then maybe I'll end part one, reach out to you guys, or you reach out to me. I hope you can contact me. You have my phone number. That might be easiest, because if you send me an email and I don't see it, that could gum up this whole works. But I hope I've done the bag. I've talked a bit about gender. You can say, oh, he didn't do the citations, but, I taught college for a long time, graded a lot of papers, and I explained to you how easy they are to do if you aren't so stressed out that it's difficult to sit and be patient and type out some citations, especially considering I could turn in a paper, right, without citations, and how many points is that off? It's better to get the low-hanging fruit. Talk about myself. People think I'm a little crazy, maybe a little bit of bad intentions, but deep down inside, I never have bad intentions. Disabled people rarely have bad intentions because the compassion they learn from their struggles makes them really kind. And the problems they cause because of their disability is prone to misunderstanding, particularly in a world where everything is a misunderstanding, because the only solution to every problem is to scapegoat and push away everyone else. That's kind of like the Karen situation, gender equality, where if an irrational lady in a park gets scared, oh my gosh, there's this strong-looking basketball player, an African-American. He says the wrong thing. He tries to be friendly in the wrong way. He backs off, but he still freaked her out. So calls the cops, investigate this suspicious person, what the world perceives of him. But there are no suspicious people, only suspicious activities, because you can dress up like a gangster and be an undercover police officer. You could dress up like a police officer and be a bad apple. At the end of LA Confidential, the shootout between the good cops and the bad cops, but there are no good cops, and there are no good and bad people. Movie quotes. Now, this is me acting irrational in the moment, but you calm down and be like, what facts can we get from this? Yeah. I'm upset one speaking to my literal abusers, the people who caused all these injuries to me, literally, and I know who they are and I can prove it.
If you're acting this criminal, you maybe have something else to hide. Maybe that's why you treasure your anonymity.
Anonymity in support groups doesn't support. It doesn't protect violent crime. Confidentiality does not protect violent crime.
The threshold of proof is a lot lower. I sue you,
preponderance of evidence versus clear and convincing, beyond a reasonable doubt, that sort of thing in criminal law. Preponderance of evidence in civil law, suing someone.
criminal conspiracy consisting of
Monetary remedy versus someone could go to jail.
how many actually physically beaten me up, and how many of those I can actually prove. But once it becomes clear that I can prove this stuff, do I still have the marks? Bitch. Well, some people
I apologize for the profanity, but it's in context, you know?
realize that this is a more serious problem than they first realized. Some people might start to think that Bennett is not 100% to blame.
No one's ever
If
100%
that's
to
the
blame.
case, some people might share what they know and break your cherished seal of anonymity, bitches. All of you who protect criminals in the name of anonymity are bitches. Why? Anonymity doesn't protect against violent crimes.
Never.
It protects about what you're supposed to be doing in these meetings. Like a slumber party for girls, having pillow fights, talking about your feelings, talking about your week. And you shouldn't have to talk about alcohol at all. It's like, Bennett, why are you talking about your alcohol? Bennett, well, alcohol was never a problem all along.
Occasionally when you get stressed, but
I've looked at my role,
it's not.
and I do have issues, and I do have things to fix
It's complicated.
about myself. But if I buy into the BS of the people who are abusing me, then their control over my life is another issue. And I've learned, like,
Social media, when used effectively, can be a tool to wake people up, to spread news, or to cheer people up, spread joy and laughter. It can be used in a dark way.
kind of leading the group astray.
But
Once the
if you can
group
say it in a
sees,
dark way,
oh,
you can say the paradoxical,
we need lawyers
nice
now. Some of
thing.
them are
You can say it in a
sharing
nice way,
information.
always,
Let's
if you want to
observe
stay
that
calm.
and wait and see what happens next.
Always calm.
bitch.
Calm is good.
And for the record, yes, I know several hexes that could decimate a criminal organization because I'm a law school graduate and I'm smarter than you.
Just kidding.
But I would never cast them. Why? Because I would simply kick your fucking ass. God is good. Hashtag blessed. Sandy. Sandy of Meeker Fellowship.
Yeah, so Sandy is actually kind of a nice person, but maybe a little misguided, or maybe she's in on it. Unlikely. In any situation, you have a bunch of confused people and consensus forums. Bennett does have some issues. He is causing some disruptions. Everyone can agree on that, so it's safer if we get rid of him. But bad people can jump on that bad bandwagon, especially if they were doing bad stuff before and getting away with it, because no one ever talks about what anyone does there. And they know they can pressure that to remain happening unless someone stands up and shows what's really going on and hopes that people will believe, at least long enough, Poirot style, be kind while you investigate. Like, let's talk to people, let's talk to everyone, get all the versions of the events. And the more you know, the more closer you get to the actual true version of the story. I'm going to wrap it up there, professors. But I want to give you my phone number. Let me find it. Why? Because if you send me an email today saying, Bennett, you have to turn in a paper, or technically we can't, please accommodate me. Accommodate a level 2 autistic person. Because I can do citations. I can do it all. And I'm good at, make your main point your thesis. A supporting argument and a paragraph to back it up. At the end of that paragraph, throw in a nifty quote and in quotes, or paraphrase it in text citation. Maybe 1, 2, 3. Maybe a paragraph devoted to the counter argument, which is hugely important, because if the reader doesn't get the gist, that you understand the counter argument very well, then you never really understand your side either, because an important part of your point of view is understanding inside and out the opposite, and then reconciling the two, either showing how, from that point of view, that's true, maybe not, this part is untrue, this is a lie. But if we look at everything, this is why they said this, and this is why it's either partially true, or here's my version of the recommended course of action. I got to wrap it up. 20 minutes. I have a ritual. I say, begin by simply listening, slow down, and see just how peaceful today can be. My online video mantra. And then I say, catch you professors on the flip side. What's my phone number? Yeah, you want to get a hold of me today. Say, Bennett, we need you to do this, 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 and this, or you fail. Please remember my phone number, and please give me a call because it's a weird day. People are finally coming out of the shadows either to attack me and say I'm crazy or to show support for the first time in a long time because now they understand the gravity of the situation. And it's a deeper problem than me being stressed out when these people just make unbroken eye contact and freak you out. Cats don't do that. You move back and forth with a cat. They provide you with eye contact and let you know we're connected, but they break eye contact because they don't want to stress or antagonize a person like the untrained security at TCC who do not identify themselves. We don't know who they are. And we know for a fact that higher ups at the university, for whatever reason, are very, very unfriendly to my sort of person compared to the nice people they put down to interact with my sort of person. I have many friends who are low level who explain, oh, we can't do this nice thing anymore because despite the very, very professional and courteous letter you wrote them, they just ignored it and voted the opposite way. So there are people at the university very unfriendly to me. I don't want to lose my student housing because that would create a dangerous crisis for me. So helping me pass and sign up for another class in the next semester. And maybe some kind of like late work thing if you need to see more would actually maybe help save my life because I have very few places left to go. Hopefully that may change once people realize that I'm not the cause of all my own problems 100%. Please text me if only to let you know that you're on board with the plan, to accommodate me and stay in contact if you have any questions, concerns, or if there's any additional thing or information you need me to provide. I did the bag, code switching. What about culture? What's something in culture? Well, I thought I'd do like men and women, women are expected to be homemakers. If you're a man who's a homemaker, you face certain challenges because all the moms are comfortable with the moms for good reason. You're kind of a stranger and you're a man and they have a husband. So you have to navigate that, tell the husband that I'm safe when I'm around you because I see you as a friend tops and I respect your marriage. I may cherish our friendship and have warm feelings for you, but at the same time, I respectfully and want to be friends with your husband or boyfriend or significant other. It's very complicated to be a stay-at-home dad when all the moms like hanging out with all the moms. And you like hanging out with them too, but you have to be very careful how you introduce yourself into that social dynamic. I could talk at length about autism, even though I just recently got diagnosed. Why? Because they knew in kindergarten, but there's a stigma, so they never got me the diagnosis. They never got me the support that's recommended because people might frown on someone who acts differently. And we see that happen to this very day, don't we? My phone number is 253-6. I know you can't see it. 683-5113. I could turn down the screen brightness on this and you could see it clearly, but I'll just read it one more time a little slower. Please text me if you agree in any part that what I just recorded satisfies in any way the code switching idea, changing how you can communicate. The fact that me doing everything in social media, I want my Facebook included as an addendum, how I use my Instagram. And you can get to my Instagram because I post Instagram links on my Facebook all the time. My TikTok is also important, but more likely to often include content that's silly and fun because that's what TikTok is often for. Professor Endicott. Oh, the kind, friendly teacher figure. And Professor... I called you Johns or Jones. I don't think you're Professor Jones because that would be too cool. So Indiana Jones. So Professor Johns, I believe it was. Communication, business. The phone number is, please text me, both of you, if you see this. 253-683-5113. If only to say, Bennett, got your message. We'll keep in touch. No questions for now, but we'll look at some things, talk about it, figure something out. You're not automatically failed because you're turning this in at around 2 o'clock on the 6th, the day after. You said get it in by the 5th. So maybe grades were due on the 5th, but it seemed logical that something could be done today since this is the first Monday following the deadline. How can you turn in grades except online on a Sunday? And if you did, is there really a human person there on a Sunday to lock it in that I failed the class and can never redeem myself because I'm a little late? Please accommodate me. I love you both in a professor way. Oh, you get very compassionate and kind of lovey-dovey when you have that connection with anyone when it's denied so systematically by, in this case, a very serious problem of physical assaults. Are they coordinated and connected? At the very least, we should be able to do more to seek a resolution with the people who unfairly attacked and injured me on different occasions, many of them provable. There's a serious problem here. I can stay calm and go to the class. That won't be a problem. Sorry about that one day. And I got to wrap this up. So catch you guys on the flip side.